there's been a lot of discussion about Donald Trump possibly loosening federal guidelines pertaining to COVID-19 in order to open the economy back up and get people back to work. That would be fine if it didn't actually risk people's lives and continue to spread COVID-19 to the point where our healthcare system is completely overwhelmed. And so recently he was asked about it by reporters during a press briefing. And I just want you to pay attention to his wording, and then we're going to give you Anthony Fauci, who has to keep cleaning up Trump's messes. Let's take a look at the first video.
On everything we're doing.
Who suggested
I
that
just thought it was a beautiful time. It'd be a beautiful time, a beautiful timeline.
So that was
It's a
based
great
on
day.
any of the data?
It was based on a certain level of weeks from the time we started.
So he chose Easter Sunday because he thinks it's a beautiful time to get people killed by contracting a virus that's incredibly aggressive for the respiratory system. Like, what? He just never says anything of substance, ever. He always says, like, he recycles the same sentences. It was a beautiful this. It's a beautiful that, right? Or tremendous this, tremendous that. Like, at what point are people going to demand substance from this buffoon?
Never. I guess they like what they're getting. It's a beautiful time. It's a beautiful timeline. No, every other timeline more beautiful than the one we're currently living in because of what we've been stuck with. There are times, I mean, it's not infrequent under Trump where I wish I could just let loose a primal roar that would reduce mountains to ash and would kill everyone so they wouldn't have to experience this anymore. That, like, he should have said that. So the question is, you're going to tell people to go back to the normal routine when we are still on the cusp of the peak need for respirators, all of this stuff. We're talking about potentially millions of people dying. And his response is, it's a beautiful time. It's a beautiful timeline. That should be when people come in and they cart him away and they put him in a padded room because he is not responsible enough to be responsible for himself, let alone for the federal government and the response to a pandemic. We are on the cusp of potentially the worst disaster to face our country in more than our lifetimes. And he thinks Easter would be great. It'd be fun. Who cares? Let's pack people in churches, he said, which seems like the sort of thing you'd say if your plan was to kill as many Christians as possible. That plan would be indistinguishable from what Donald Trump is pursuing right now.
The only thing that matters is making money in the stock market. Really, that's all it is. Like, money, profits over actual human lives. That's what's driving him right now. Luckily, there was a follow-up by a different reporter. So let's take a look at how he handled it and how Trump responded.
The number of known coronavirus cases in the country double in just 2 days. Another 95 people have died just in the last 24 hours. New York's governor is saying this is spreading like a bullet train across the country, and the governor of Louisiana is saying that his state may not be able to handle the cases that they're facing by early April. So, what are you seeing in all of this that leads you to think that we could reopen by Easter or even earlier?
Sure, we're working with all of them. We can be talking about large sections of our country because there are sections of our country that you didn't talk about that are doing unbelievably well. They have very little incidence or problem, very small numbers. It's very possible that they won't be ever subject to what's happening in New York. New York is definitely a hot spot. There's no question about it. And you know what we're doing in New York to try and help. And I think we're doing an incredible job. We're going to have the hospitals up quickly, the medical centers also quickly. But we'll just have to see. We have to follow it. We have to see. We're going to look at that curve. We're going to see when it starts coming down.
Prison.
New York.
In the words of Anna Kasparian, prison.
Yeah. New York is not an island, okay? And even if it were, as we know, this virus has traveled from country to country. So massive bodies of water, big water, from the standpoint of water, didn't stop this virus from spreading to the United States. Yeah. What were the chances? What were the chances that we would have a massive pandemic when that guy's in charge? What were the chances? Yeah. It's like the most unlucky situation ever.
Higher than if he weren't in charge right now because of the impact he's had on it. But Yeah, I mean, like I look constantly at the case numbers, and it's like Michigan's got 500 additional cases today, Massachusetts 679 new cases. These are new cases, by the way, not total cases. And Connecticut, my home state's got 257 additional, and 7 people died from it just so far today since the last time I loaded it. And on Easter, those numbers are going to be larger for a 24-hour period than they are today. They're going to continue to increase, and he doesn't care because he's not listening to the doctors, because he doesn't care what they have to say. He cares about his approval rating. He cares about his fortune and the fortunes of his friends in the 1%, and that's it. And you're not going to stop him with your references to Dr. Fauci, or, you know, the fact that, let's say he wasn't lying about, you know, how soon the hospital ship is going to be at New York, or how when they're going to have these new hospitals set up in the Javits Center. Even if all of that was true, it is not going to be nearly enough for the demand that they're going to have in just a couple of weeks. And we attacked him for wasting months. He's wasting today. He's going to waste tomorrow. He is just wasting when he could be buying this equipment, when he could be shipping it around. The government could be coordinating the response. They could be coordinating the logistics to make sure that every hospital gets what it needs. And all of this is relying on him saying there's huge sections of the country that aren't doing that bad. How many tests do you think they're running in large sections of the country right now? The limited tests that we have are being sent to some of the worst urban areas, but it is spreading unchecked in large parts of this country. We have no actual idea how many people have it in New York, let alone Idaho or Utah or Missouri or wherever. And all of this, he doesn't care. How can he be in charge in a situation like this?
I know, John, but Easter is a beautiful time. Beautiful time.
It is. Like he cares about Easter, by the way.
Couldn't care less. But Anthony Fauci, again, he's the adult in the room, and he's doing his best to persuade Trump not to go through with loosening the guidelines. And following Trump's statements, here's what he had to say.
Where do things stand right now between you and the president on the timeline and where we are?
You know, it's a back and forth. The president clearly listens. I mean, he has this aspirational goal of hoping that we might be able to do it by a certain date. We talk to him about that. We say we need to be flexible. He realizes that, and he accepts that.
He realizes that, and he accepts that.
Sure.
Until, you know, his buddies bring up, this is not good for our businesses, until he realizes it's not good for his businesses. And by the way, when I say it's not good for his businesses, it's in his mind, right? Because these federal guidelines encourage people to stay home, which means that his properties aren't receiving the same patronage that he would hope for. But if he loosens those guidelines and this pandemic continues, in the long run, not even in the long run, in like the mid run, it's going to hurt him tremendously. It's going to hurt the economy even more, and we're going to lose lives as a result.
Yeah. Yeah. And the issue is that he's not actually listening to Fauci. He's definitely not listening to us. Like, if you're watching this and you might agree with what we're saying, when this is done, after the postgame, you should check in on Fox News and see what Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham are saying, because that's who Donald Trump is actually listening to. And Fox News is all aboard the let's get this economy restarted thing. Doesn't matter if every grandma and grandpa in the country dies. They've signed on to that, and he is going to be listening to them. He's going to be watching the shows. He's going to be receiving their phone calls. That's who he trusts, not the CDC or health professionals, but pundits on Fox News.
Well, he doesn't even listen to the majority of Americans because recent polling indicates that 74% of voters support a national quarantine, limiting activity except essential trips such as to the grocery store and to the pharmacy. He doesn't care about any of them. He doesn't care about any of us. It's not about keeping us safe. Again, this is about profits over human lives, profits over people. And it's frustrating, but this is the person we have in charge, the unluckiest situation ever.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.